Welcome, and thank you for downloading The 8 Biggest Problems, brought to you by Cadence Management Corporation. For over 25 years, Cadence has been helping organizations around the world to make a difference through project management success. Today, Cadence is widely recognized as a leading provider of project management training, consulting services, and supporting tools. Join Cadence President John Patton as interviewed by colleague Scott Allison in this episode of The 8 Biggest Problems.
All right, Johns, what is problem number 2?
Well, it's inadequate scope definition, and it seems like a paradox. You know, we've got to put together a project plan, we've got to execute the project, and if we don't know the scope of the project, how can we possibly put together a plan which will lead us to our destination? There's something that we hear all over the world when we consult to help a project that's in trouble. And that is that the team is complaining about the large number of changes in scope when we're past the middle point of the project. And as we look at these changes in scope more closely, we find that they're not really changes at all. They are essential items of scope, components of scope that should have been defined right in the beginning, but we were in such a hurry that we ran right past them. So inadequate scope definition is right up there as number 2 problem.
What would you consider to be the cause of inadequate scope definition?
We've seen several causes, and these causes usually are all there whenever a company has this scope definition problem. The first one is that we've done a good job of selling the internal client on the need for the project. So as the project gets authorized, the justification is there. The benefits have been established and bought into. And the customer's attitude is, okay, we're going to go with this. How soon can I have it? I want it now. That's compounded by the management of the people who are working on the project team. They want to be responsive to their internal clients in the organization. And this is exacerbated when there is an external client, because there's revenue tied to that external client. And so management says, how soon can we have it? And they're pressuring the team to come up with short estimates for project execution. Let's say that we have an internal client sort of situation and we're creating, let's use an example here, an IT system for them. This internal client lives in a high context environment. And that means that they know how to get the job done, but it's very difficult for them to describe step by step how they do the job. Well, that's completely opposite from the project environment where we count on very high definition to get the job done. So if we ask this customer, what do you want? They're not going to be able to tell us, and they'll be frustrated. So we need techniques for pulling the definition from them. And that leads us into the lack of a definition methodology. Companies do lack the skills and abilities to pull project definition from the people that we're creating the solution for. And we have run into the flip side of that one, however, companies that have purchased methodologies for getting work definition done and ignore them. They're on the shelf in books or they're on the server and available for people to use, but they really just haven't been implemented. Or if they were implemented, there's been turnover, new people, and for some reason they've fallen into disuse.
You talk about solutions. Once we find out that we have inadequate scope definition, could you provide a solution for that?
Yes, it's a 2-part solution. It's obvious from my comments that a company needs methodologies for definition, but they need 2 kinds of methodologies. One is a project management methodology, and the second is their, let's call them specialized methodology or technical methodology. In companies, there's a methodology for product development. There can be a methodology called a SDLC for Systems Development Lifecycle. There can be a methodology which is specialized and focused on quality improvements, like for Six Sigma, DMAIC is the acronym that's used. We call these specialized definition approaches, and there will be multiples of those in any company we go into, depending on the maturity of the company. A company also needs, however, a project management methodology into which all these other specialized methodologies can fit, and a methodology that can serve for parts of the organization that don't have a specialized approach. So let's look at these specialized or technical methodologies as methodologies which describe how you do the work, and the project management methodology is one which provides or teaches us or tells us how to manage the doing of the work. Now, once that's implemented, then it has to be used. And there is always a test that's provided of management. And often it's a test from a person who's very good at what they do and says to a manager, I really don't like this new methodology. I always get my work done. Do I really have to use it? And a good manager has to be a good psychologist in this case and understand that when a person says, I don't like this new methodology, they're really saying, I don't understand this new methodology. So a smart manager will always ask, what part of this methodology don't you like? And the person will be explaining what they don't understand. And so the manager can explain to their own understanding and then pull in the project manager for the implementation of this methodology. And the three of them have a discussion and both go away with a solution. All of them go away with a solution. That's really surrounding the implementation of a methodology. But there are other parts to this. Many companies that have inadequate scope definition don't have a life cycle for managing projects. That will be part of your methodology. And you want to make sure that as a project goes through the life cycle, scope definition takes place gradually, so that planning project implementation is just a final piece of scope that was being defined throughout the life cycle. Now, in certain parts of the life cycle, like the research phase, where we're really supposed to determine what we're going to be doing, we can use prototypes to confirm requirements or to prove that we can handle the technology that we have selected. In scope definition itself, it's important to use three things, identify three things really, deliverables, measures, and exclusions. Deliverables, what are we going to have in the operating environment when the project is over? Measures, how can we tell that what we've delivered is working correctly? And exclusions, what are the things we're not going to do that we might have been discussing during the justification phase of the project that might still be expectations? Let's make sure that we understand very clearly what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. And then there's a very good process which is a part of project closeout, which is recommended in the Project Management Body of Knowledge by PMI, the Project Management Institute. And that's scope verification. Once we've signed off on scope at the beginning of the project, then we're going to go through that scope at the end of the project and confirm with our internal or external client that they actually got what we promised. Now, there are going to be a few things that need to be fixed. And those things that need to be fixed, we're going to call a punch list. And when we work off those items on the punch list, we can close out the project. Organizations that use scope verification invariably get better project closeouts, smoother project closeouts, and faster project closeouts.
Thank you for listening to the 8 Biggest Problems. For more information on this series or on Cadence Management Corporation training and support for your projects, visit Cadence on the web at www.cadencemc.com. All the tools mentioned in this series are available to download for free. This and all Cadence podcasts are available for free in the iTunes Store. Download iTunes today at www.apple.com/iTunes. Join us next week for the next episode of The 8 Biggest Problems from Cadence Management Corporation. Thank you, and we wish you only the greatest project success.